So apparently, Stefon Diggs might have 99 problems, but sleeping with Cardi's friends/employees does not seem to be one. Y'all, what am I talking about? So many shocking things happened in the Stefon Diggs Cardi B trial. I did live. I'll do a compilation video for the guys that don't have lives. There was all these shocking things that came out. Well, no, everybody was trying to find out whether Mila was lying or not, whether Stefon did it, right? One shocking thing came out. Do you see this woman right here? Her name is Shy. She is a hair braider.
Everybody thought this case was going to destroy Stefon Diggs' career. But after just 2 days in court, the entire story flipped upside down in a way nobody expected. What started as a shocking accusation turned into one of the internet's most talked about celebrity trials. And now people online are asking one huge question. Was this really about justice? Or was there something much deeper happening behind the scenes? Because once the witnesses started talking, the courtroom atmosphere changed completely. Testimony after testimony raised eyebrows. Friends, employees, videos, phone calls, late-night conversations. Every new detail painted a picture that social media cannot stop debating right now. And the craziest part? Some people believe the real drama had nothing to do with football at all. They think emotions, money, jealousy, and power may have been driving everything from the very beginning.
He owed me that he said that he would invest in my business. So I took a lower pay because Stefon agreed that I will have chance to work on my business by working with him.
From secret conversations to alleged money demands, from viral courtroom moments to explosive witness testimony, this story became bigger than anyone imagined. And by the end of this video, you may completely change the way you look at celebrity relationships, loyalty, and what really happens when private drama turns into a public war. For a moment, it looked like Stefon Diggs might actually lose everything. Reporters crowded outside the courthouse. Social media was already picking sides, and people online were talking like the outcome had already been decided before the trial even started. But once opening testimony began, the entire mood inside that courtroom reportedly started changing fast. What many expected to be a long, emotional legal battle suddenly turned into something completely different. And by the second day, people watching closely were beginning to wonder if this case was about more than just the accusations themselves. The case centered around allegations made by Mila Adams, who had worked closely with Stefon Diggs as a personal chef. According to testimony, the two had developed a relationship that became far more personal and complicated than a normal working arrangement. What started as friendship allegedly turned romantic at times, and that blurred line would later become one of the biggest talking points during the trial. When the jury first heard the accusations, the claims sounded serious enough to threaten Diggs' future completely. The possibility of criminal penalties alone was enough to send shockwaves through sports media. Fans online immediately started debating whether the NFL star's career was finished. But the defense team entered the courtroom prepared to challenge nearly every part of the story. And once witnesses began speaking, the courtroom atmosphere reportedly shifted in a dramatic way. One of the first major moments came when testimony focused on the financial relationship between Mila Adams and Diggs. According to court records discussed during the trial, Diggs had already paid her for cooking services rendered throughout the season. But the situation became complicated after Adams allegedly claimed she was still owed additional money connected to promises about helping her open her own restaurant someday. That detail immediately caught attention because it introduced a possible financial dispute into a case that many originally believed was only about personal allegations. During testimony, messages between the two were discussed in court, including conversations where Diggs thanked her for cooking during the season and told her he appreciated her work. The defense then pushed further, suggesting Adams hoped Diggs would financially support her restaurant ambitions. Things became even more intense when Diggs' financial manager reportedly testified that an internal review of payments raised serious concerns. According to testimony presented in court, invoices submitted by Adams allegedly contained duplicate reimbursements and payment inconsistencies. The witness explained that after noticing potential billing problems, she reviewed months of financial records connected to Adams' work. That testimony created one of the first major turning points in the trial because it gave the defense an opportunity to argue that tensions between the two may have involved money disputes long before legal accusations entered the picture. Online reactions exploded almost immediately after clips from that testimony began circulating across social media platforms. But the financial testimony was only the beginning. Another major focus during the trial involved the timeline surrounding the alleged incident itself. Witnesses connected to Diggs' household testified about what they observed during the days immediately after the alleged altercation. According to testimony, one staff member claimed nothing seemed unusual inside the house during the evening in question. No screaming, no sounds of violence, no visible panique. Then came one detail that instantly became viral online. According to testimony, Adams allegedly cooked food later that same evening before leaving the house. Social media users immediately latched onto that detail, with many arguing that her behavior did not match what they expected from someone who had just experienced a violent confrontation. Of course, others online pushed back, pointing out that trauma responses are different for every person and behavior alone does not prove innocence or guilt. Still, the moment became one of the most heavily discussed parts of the entire trial. But what truly changed the direction of public opinion came from witnesses outside of Diggs' inner circle entirely. One witness, identified as a hairstylist who had known Diggs professionally for years, testified that she remained in contact with Adams after the alleged incident and even spent time with her in New York shortly afterward. According to her testimony, she saw no bruising, redness, swelling, or signs of visible injuries during multiple interactions over several days. The hairstylist described FaceTime calls, airport pickups, late-night conversations, dinners, shopping trips, and time spent together socially. According to her testimony, Adams appeared relaxed, energetic, and physically normal throughout that period. Another witness who spent time around Adams during the same week reportedly gave similar testimony, stating she observed no visible marks or signs of injury either. Those statements immediately became central to online debate because prosecutors were relying heavily on claims involving physical assault. The defense used those witnesses to suggest that the allegations did not align with Adams' behavior or physical appearance in the days afterward. And then the courtroom reportedly became even more uncomfortable for the prosecution. During cross-examination, Adams was questioned about her relationship with Diggs and several public statements connected to the case. At times, exchanges between attorneys and witnesses became tense, awkward, and heavily discussed online afterward. Some viewers believed Adams appeared evasive during certain questions, while others argued she was simply overwhelmed by aggressive courtroom pressure. One moment in particular quickly spread across social media after Adams appeared uncertain while answering questions about football itself. Defense attorneys reportedly asked whether she understood that Diggs regularly takes physical hits during games as part of his job. Her answers drew reactions online because critics claimed she appeared unfamiliar with basic details about football despite attending multiple games. The moment instantly became meme material online, with clips spreading rapidly across commentary channels and social media pages. For many viewers already skeptical about the accusations, that exchange reinforced doubts about her credibility. But supporters of Adams argued that awkward testimony does not automatically mean someone is lying. As the trial continued, another explosive topic emerged involving alleged settlement discussions happening behind the scenes. Questions were raised in court about legal representation, workers' compensation claims, and reported financial demands connected to potential civil action. The courtroom exchanges became increasingly tense as attorneys pressed for direct answers about whether money had been requested privately before the criminal case gained national attention. At this point, online commentary exploded into complete chaos. Some people believe the trial exposed major inconsistencies in the accusations against Diggs. Others believe the intense public scrutiny placed impossible pressure on Adams while she testified. But regardless of which side people supported, nearly everyone agreed on one thing. This had become far bigger than a normal celebrity legal story, because now the internet wasn't just talking about evidence anymore. People were starting to analyze the relationship itself. And once testimony began revealing private conversations, emotional tension, and alleged behind-the-scenes conflicts involving money, vacations, access, and personal loyalty, the entire narrative surrounding Stefon Diggs and Mila Adams took a completely unexpected turn. By the second day of testimony, the courtroom no longer felt like a simple legal proceeding involving Stefon Diggs. At that point, the case had transformed into something much bigger in the eyes of the public. Social media detectives were analyzing every sentence, every facial expression, every witness statement, and every timeline inconsistency like it was a championship game. And the deeper people looked into the relationship between Diggs and Mila Adams, the more complicated the entire situation started to appear. One of the biggest moments came when testimony shifted away from financial records and toward private conversations that allegedly happened behind closed doors. According to Courtroom testimony, the hairstylist who had spent time around both Diggs and Adams described a late-night conversation that many people online later called the turning point of the entire case. The witness claimed that after returning to Diggs' house days later, she was doing his hair while Adams was also present inside the home. At first, everything allegedly seemed normal. According to the testimony, Diggs was sitting casually, watching television, checking his phone, and interacting normally while Adams sat nearby using her own phone. But then the atmosphere reportedly changed once the topic of money came up again. The witness testified that Adams asked Diggs when she was going to receive money she believed she was owed. According to the testimony, Diggs responded by mentioning that she had already spoken with the accountant. From there, the witness claimed Adams became visibly irritated, although she initially stayed quiet and remained on her phone. Later that night, according to the testimony, Adams allegedly came downstairs while everyone else was gone and began venting privately. The hairstylist claimed Adams said she planned to sue Diggs and take it to the blogs. That statement immediately caught the jury's attention because it introduced the possibility that public pressure and media exposure may have already been part of Adams' mindset before criminal allegations escalated. But then came the detail that truly exploded online. According to the witness, Adams allegedly never mentioned being assaulted during that conversation. Instead, the discussion reportedly focused on money, frustration, and plans to damage Diggs publicly if things did not go her way. The defense leaned heavily into this testimony because it allowed them to argue that the accusations may have been tied to personal resentment and financial conflict rather than physical violence. Once clips discussing that testimony reached social media, the internet went completely insane. Comment sections instantly split into two sides. One side believed the testimony completely destroyed Adams' credibility. They argued that if someone had truly experienced a violent assault, that would have been the first thing they mentioned privately to close friends. Others strongly disagreed, pointing out that trauma responses vary widely and victims do not always immediately describe abuse the way outsiders expect them to. Still, there was no denying the impact the testimony had on public perception. And the more details emerged about the personal relationship between Diggs and Adams, the more people online started focusing less on the legal case itself and more on the emotional dynamics behind it. At this point, internet commentators began building theories about jealousy, emotional attachment, and blurred boundaries inside the relationship. According to testimony discussed in court, Adams and Diggs were not simply employer and employee. Their relationship reportedly involved friendship, intimacy, travel, personal conversations, and emotional closeness over an extended period of time. That detail changed how many people interpreted the situation entirely. Some online commentators argued that Adams may have believed she held a special position in Diggs' personal life beyond work. Others claimed she may have felt emotionally sidelined once other women entered the picture more openly. The internet especially focused on testimony describing moments where Adams allegedly became upset after being excluded from trips or asked to leave the house temporarily while Diggs entertained other guests. Suddenly, people weren't just debating evidence anymore. They were debating power, emotions, loyalty, and access. One phrase that started circulating heavily online was the idea of the inside woman. someone who believes they understand a celebrity more deeply than everyone else around them. Commentators claimed Adams may have viewed herself as someone Diggs trusted personally, not just professionally. According to these theories, the emotional fallout allegedly began once she no longer felt prioritized inside his life. Of course, none of that was proven in court as factual motive. But online audiences became obsessed with analyzing the emotional psychology behind the relationship. And while the internet argued endlessly about motives, another controversial issue continued growing in the background: the alleged money demands connected to the case. During testimony, defense attorneys repeatedly questioned Adams about legal representation, workers' compensation claims, and reported settlement discussions. At times, the exchanges became tense enough that even people inside the courtroom reportedly looked uncomfortable. Questions about whether lawyers acting on Adams' behalf had requested millions of dollars became one of the most heavily debated portions of the trial. Adams reportedly denied personally seeking money to settle the matter, while also appearing uncertain about certain legal questions involving attorney communications. Those exchanges immediately fueled online skepticism, especially among viewers already leaning toward Diggs' side of the case. Then another major issue entered public discussion. Some commentators began questioning whether Adams ever expected the situation to fully reach trial at all. This theory became extremely popular online after observers noticed how quickly the case seemed to unravel once witnesses and timelines were examined publicly. According to internet speculation, some people believe the initial police report may have been intended to pressure Diggs privately rather than trigger a full courtroom battle under national attention. Again, there was never proof presented that this was Adams' intention. But speculation exploded after testimony involving alleged settlement demands and media threats surfaced inside the courtroom. At the same time, however, not everyone accepted the defense narrative so easily. Many viewers pointed out that high-profile athletes often possess enormous resources, legal teams, and public influence capable of shaping public perception very quickly. Others argued that witness testimony about someone appearing happy or calm after an alleged assault does not automatically disprove abuse. Supporters of Adams also criticized the internet for turning serious accusations into entertainment and memes before all facts were fully understood. And honestly, that became one of the strangest aspects of this entire case. Because while a real courtroom process was unfolding, social media treated the trial almost like a reality show. Every awkward answer became a meme. Every facial expression became a viral clip. Every witness statement became instant gossip content across YouTube, TikTok, podcasts, and celebrity blogs. The actual legal case almost started feeling secondary to the online spectacle surrounding it. But despite all the debates, all the theories, and all the viral moments, one thing became impossible to ignore by the end of the second day. The jury had clearly seen enough, because after reviewing testimony, evidence, witness statements, and arguments from both sides, the verdict finally arrived. And once the courtroom announced that Stefon Diggs was not guilty on all counts, reactions exploded across the internet immediately. And once the internet started focusing on that part of the story, people began building theories that spread faster than the actual courtroom facts themselves. Some commentators believed Adams became emotionally invested in a role she thought would always exist in Diggs' life. According to these theories, she may have viewed herself as someone uniquely important to him, someone trusted differently from everyone else around him. Supporters of this idea pointed to testimony where Adams reportedly described the relationship as complicated, arguing that single word revealed far more than people initially realized. Online discussions became obsessed with the idea that emotional access can sometimes create expectations neither person fully communicates out loud. Many people argued that situations become dangerous when one person believes the relationship means one thing while the other person sees it completely differently. And in celebrity circles, those blurred lines can become even messier. Athletes, entertainers, influencers, and wealthy public figures often live inside environments where employees, friends, romantic partners, assistants, and business associates all exist inside the same social world. Boundaries can become confusing fast. Loyalty becomes currency. Access becomes power. And emotions can get involved before either side fully understands what is happening. That is exactly why this case captured so much attention online. To some people, the trial represented a warning about false accusations and public reputation damage. To others, it represented the difficulty of proving emotional and physical experiences inside complicated relationships where both people share messy personal history. But regardless of which side viewers supported, almost everybody agreed on one thing by the end. The relationship between Diggs and Adams clearly carried emotional tension long before the legal case ever started. And then there was the internet's obsession with the money angle. Even after the verdict, social media continued arguing about the testimony involving invoices, reimbursements, alleged settlement demands, and discussions about opening a restaurant. Some viewers believed the financial disputes explained the entire conflict. Others argued that reducing everything to money ignored the emotional complexity revealed throughout the trial. Still, the alleged discussions involving millions of dollars became one of the most controversial topics connected to the case. Critics of Adams pointed to those courtroom exchanges as proof the accusations were financially motivated. Supporters of Adams pushed back hard, arguing that seeking compensation after workplace harm does not automatically mean allegations are false. And while people argued online nonstop, another uncomfortable truth started becoming impossible to ignore. The internet had turned a deeply personal situation into entertainment. Every witness became a meme. Every awkward courtroom answer became reaction content. Every emotional moment became TikTok clips and YouTube thumbnails. Even serious testimony was remixed into jokes, commentary videos, and live-stream debates. Some people laughed at the viral football questions. Others mocked emotional testimony. Entire channels built millions of views discussing body language, facial expressions, and relationship theories surrounding the case. At times, it almost felt like the real people involved disappeared underneath the spectacle. And honestly, that may be one of the biggest reasons this story exploded the way it did. Because modern celebrity culture no longer treats courtroom drama as private legal business. The internet now consumes these situations like episodic entertainment. Audiences pick teams. Algorithms reward outrage. Commentary channels compete to deliver the boldest theory possible. And once social media decides a story is viral, facts, emotions, speculation, and entertainment all start blending together into one giant online narrative. That is exactly what happened here. By the final day, the public conversation surrounding Diggs and Adams was no longer only about evidence presented in court. It had evolved into discussions about gender dynamics, emotional manipulation, power imbalance, celebrity privilege, toxic attachment, financial dependency, and social media influence all at the same time. And maybe that explains why so many people became emotionally invested in the outcome. Some viewers saw Diggs as a man who narrowly escaped a false narrative capable of destroying his career forever. Others saw Adams as a woman publicly humiliated under the pressure of internet mockery and celebrity influence. Depending on who you asked online, the exact same courtroom footage told two completely different stories. But after everything finally ended, one detail still stood out more than anything else: the speed. Most people expected a drawn-out legal battle lasting weeks. Instead, after only 2 days of testimony, the jury reached its decision. That alone shocked many observers because of how serious the accusations initially sounded when the case first became public. And once the verdict arrived, people immediately started wondering what would happen next for everyone involved. Would Diggs attempt to fully rebuild his image publicly and move past the controversy? Would Adams continue pursuing civil claims connected to the situation? Would more private details eventually surface later? Nobody truly knows. But what this case definitely proved is how quickly private celebrity relationships can become public disasters once emotions, money, trust, and public attention all collide together at the same time. One disagreement becomes headlines. One accusation becomes national debate. One courtroom battle becomes millions of opinions online. And in today's social media era, once that process starts, there is almost no way to stop it. Because even though the trial officially ended with a not guilty verdict for Stefon Diggs, the internet already transformed the story into something much bigger than a courtroom case alone. It became a cultural conversation about fame, relationships, loyalty, influence, and the dangerous consequences that can happen when personal emotions explode under public attention. Now I want to hear from you. After hearing everything that came out during this trial, what do you really think happened behind the scenes between Stefon Diggs and Mila Adams? Do you believe the jury got the verdict right? Or do you think there's still more to this story that the public doesn't know yet? Drop your honest opinion in the comments, because this case has the entire internet divided right now, and everybody seems to have a completely different theory. And if you made it all the way to the end of this video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more celebrity news, courtroom drama, sports controversy, and viral stories everybody's talking about. We're covering the biggest headlines, the wildest internet debates, and the stories social media cannot stop discussing. Also turn on post notifications so you never miss the next upload, because the internet moves fast. And trust me, this story may not be over yet. Share this video with your friends, send it to somebody who's been following the case, and let me know what topic you want covered next. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.